Hello, welcome back to my channel, Thrifty Day. My name is Leah. I'm the creator behind Thrifty Day. Today's episode is actually going to be a quick walkthrough of a few of the items I have available to my Patreon members. And the reason I'm showing you this is not because it's fun and I'm proud of it, although I am. I am showing you because today I'm going to be making a collage board, and I wanted to show you where the inspiration came from. My theme over on Patreon for the month of July was vintage travel and adventures out there. So everyone received some really fun travel themed or journey sort of ephemera, and I made those little friendship pins out of vintage bottle caps. I made travel journal inserts for ephemera. All of my journal tier members actually got to choose their own travel journal, so that was a really fun aspect. Each one of these journals was handmade by me. Some were hardcover little golden book travel journals, and some were softcover fabric journals. So those are a fun component. And I did make a lot of pen pal mail this month. It was super fun. They are interactive. They have little pockets and tons of travel and adventure ephemera inside. And then these are digitals of vintage postcards, some of which are from my own personal collection. So that was a fun addition as well. So what I have done is I have actually saved a lot of bits and pieces. Oh, and this is my zine. I forgot. I need to show you that too. I love the way my zine came out. I think it was really, really fun to create, to use as many vintage pieces as possible. You can use this as a journal insert or as a standalone journal. So this was the inspiration. So all month what I decided to do was save bits and pieces. I put them aside so that I could create this collage board as a reflection of my whole month. It will be for my personal use. It's something I want to go ahead and document and put into my own personal journal. And then I also thought it would be really fun to scan it and use it them as like little gift tags to put onto packages and gifts and presents, because it ends up just so bright and cheery. So actually at the end, if you watch to the end, you'll see how I plan to use them as tags. You could even cut these collage boards up and use them as journal cards, or fold them and make them complete cards to give as gifts as you craft and create. So I always start with a standard piece of computer paper, and I'm going to use this very large map piece as the base. This is actually a map of Kansas. It's a very vintage map of Kansas. So I'm just going to start by putting that on the bottom, and I'm going to start building my collage from the bottom up using the largest pieces. And since this is the largest piece I have, this is the one I'm going to start with, and I think it makes a beautiful base, especially for an adventure theme. So I'm going to start by adding that and this vintage postcard. So the way I am going to create this collage board is I'm actually going to use the larger pieces first. And honestly, the larger, less important pieces first, because many of these pieces will be mostly covered by smaller pieces. And that's just sort of the name of the game when it comes to collaging. Many of those bottom layers won't be super visible. They are more background pieces. So this is a piece of leftover fabric from making one of those travel journals. So while it is still meaningful, it's not the most important piece of ephemera, so that's why it's on the bottom. I do love this California postcard, and everyone on every tier received one. But since it is a larger piece, I am still going to go ahead and put it on the bottom, because what I'd like to ultimately do is scan this collage board to use to make tags to put on gifts I give, or to use in my own personal journaling. So in order to do that, I want to make sure as many pieces as possible are represented when I go to cut this up to use in my journaling or crafting process. This was a piece of a storybook. I actually used a few different storybooks to upcycle and cut images out of to create ephemera, and this was one that I had saved. I actually had made something out of it that I didn't end up creating more of. I just didn't have enough supplies, so I actually cut that off of the original craft I made. That's why it's got a craft color background. So I'm just using double stick tape. Another sort of tip I think is helpful is I don't glue things or tack things down super permanently when I'm in this stage. And the reason is that way I can move things around, shift things around, tilt things as necessary. So I use as little adhesive as possible in these first few steps. That way I have, you know, enough space in my creative sort of journey to move things around as I need to. So, making a collage board for me is really a fun sort of component that I think I'm going to do at the end of every Patreon. It's really something that's um, fun because I can share the creative process with you, but it's also a memory for me. It's almost like a scrapbook page of my whole month. When I work on my Patreon, it's something I start doing at the beginning of the month and it goes all the way through the end of the month, and then I ship things the first and second of the following month. So, truly, this collage board is a snapshot of what I have been working on for a whole month. And so I think this is something I really want to start doing every month because I think it will be really fun to scan this and actually put it into my personal journal, not only as a bit of creativity and a sweet, like, scrapbook page, but as a memory. I'm very proud of my creations. I love to create. I feel incredibly privileged and lucky to be able to have a platform to share it with you, whether it's here on YouTube, whether it's on Patreon, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on Instagram, or whether it's on Facebook. That's a really wonderful, lucky bit of my life. And so I'm so grateful to all of you for tuning in and listening to me, chit chat for days. And I just love being able to share that. So that's something I'm very proud of. So I'm excited to be able to put this into my own personal journal, because sometimes some Patreon months I get so involved in what I'm doing, I actually have to step away from my own journaling a little bit, which is okay because I don't ever put a lot of pressure on myself to always journal. But I do find, like, oh my gosh, I haven't journaled in 2 weeks. And but I have been creating. Just because I've not been journaling doesn't mean I haven't been creating. So this is a really fun creative outlet for me, and it's really neat to be able to look back. And so I was just sort of excited to share the process with you. And this actually is something that I'm going to, moving forward, try to do at the end of every month so that I could just sort of show you like a sneak peek into the creativity behind my entire month. And it was also fun to save little bits and pieces. I had just a little container next to my desk, and I thought, oh, I want to save one of these to make the collage board at the end because I knew I wanted to do this. And so it was just all those little bits and pieces. Every now and then when I'd come across something like this little piece has strawberries on it, I put these little tiny bits of ephemera into the pen pal mail, and I came across that strawberry one. Well, I love strawberries. I have like enamelware. I have all those vintage strawberry pots and pans, because they're very reminiscent of my childhood. My mother had those. My daughter and I have talked about getting a vintage strawberry, that enamelware tattoo even. So when I saw those vintage strawberries on that little bit of ephemera, it struck me. And that's the beauty of junk journaling. It's just those little things that like ting that memory in your mind, whether it's from your childhood, from your past, from just last week even. So putting that little bit of strawberries on there, even though it may not seem like a really important piece of ephemera to somebody else, really strikes a memory for me. So it was fun to even put something like that on there. And these are the little frames that I actually used for the covers of my zines. So that was kind of special to put on there, and they look very vintage, which I think is very neat. So that was another really fun little bit. I love tickets. If you have followed me on here for any length of time, you know that I use tickets, in any form of tickets, in a lot of my journaling process. I think they're a bright, fun, easily accessible bit of ephemera to use in your journaling process. And they're very purposeful. Like if you go to the movies, you should have a ticket. If you go to Disneyland, you get a ticket. If you go anywhere, a carnival, you get a ticket. So they're very purposeful when journaling. I also included these stickers in my pen pal and ephemera kits, and I love, love, love them. I love circle stickers. I kind of love anything circle. I think I mentioned this when I talked to my Patreon members during this video. Everything in journaling many times is very straight edge or angular, like it's like a square or a rectangle, whereas sometimes when you get circle pieces, they just feel a little bit more special. So I really like that those circles, those stickers were circles. And now you're going to see me add these little tiny bottle caps. These are printables that I got on Etsy. They're images of vintage bottle caps. And I included them in my pen pal mail. And I wanted to include some of them that were left over, as many as I could, onto this collage. And there's a couple reasons for that. I love vintage bottle caps. I did use a lot of vintage bottle caps this month, and I've used them many times before. But also, these are little tiny pieces. I know I'm going to lose them. They'll end up in containers and I'll never see them again. So I thought at least if I use them now, they won't get lost. So it's kind of a way to repurpose. I don't like to waste anything. So if I have something, I want to make sure that I'm using it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim again. I do like to trim a few different times just so I make sure that I'm keeping everything in the right spaces. And so I'm just going to trim these little bits and pieces that I've been adding. And yes, I just use that same old paper cutter for everything. And I'm just about done. I'm going to add a little bit of stamping. And the stamping, you can't even really see that well, to be honest. But I'm going to show you why I think it adds an interesting layer. So I'm just going to move some of this trash away and get ready to get some stamping done. This stamp was from a Tim Holtz collection a few years ago now. I'm not even sure if it's still available. I don't know the exact collection, but it's a cling stamp by Tim Holtz. And so it's like twinkles and splatters. I love adding it to everything because I think it adds sort of a very special, unique, worn touch. Once I'm done adding these, I'll go ahead and show you up close because I know further away you just can't really see. And I just sort of add it to some of the lighter spaces. So hopefully you can see here what I'm talking about. So now that my collage board is done, I'm actually just going to add some distress ink all around the perimeter. And I think that just will make it pop. Although honestly, what I'm going to do is scan this so I can use it in my personal journal and to create tags to put on gifts and things like that. And I don't even know that you'll see the perimeter because sometimes when you scan things, you don't get the complete image. But anyway, let me know what you think. This is the scanned image that I printed on cardstock. The top is the original. So now what I'm going to do is just show you how I'm going to use it. Obviously, I'm going to fold it and just glue it into my personal journal, but I thought I would also show you how I plan to use it moving forward. So I'm just going to use this tag. This is one of the tags that I put into my pen pal mail. It was extra. So I'm just going to use it. I'm just going to trace it onto the complete image here. And then once I am done tracing about 5 tags, I'm just going to cut them out. And I actually went on to add eyelets to the top as well, but I don't think that's in this video. I can't remember now as I sit here and do this VO. So it's a very simple process if you create your own collage boards. Once you scan them, I recommend putting them onto cardstock if you plan on using them for tags or journal cards. But as you can see, I'm just going to cut them out. I did have to get out my lamp because even though it's daylight, I'm telling y'all, it's hard for me to see lines and stuff. I don't know if it's an old age thing or just a vision thing, but I'm okay with it. I'm still good. So I'm just going to cut those out and then I will remove the lamp so you can see what they look like with natural lighting because it's obviously much different than with synthetic lighting. So let me just finish cutting all these out. But I'm so happy with how it came out. And like I said, I can't wait to do this again next month. And if you were curious, my theme for next month over on Patreon is very vintage back to school. And I am so excited because I'm already planning in my head and the collage board will be amazing. So these are the tags. This was the finished product. I hope you like this video. To join us on Patreon, check out the description box down below and have a really good day, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.